So I'm going to hit you with a statistic. So we need 80,000 electricians every single year up to 2030. And that's just replaced electricians that are leaving the industry. For every 5 that are leaving, only 2 are coming in. Everything is being electrified. You have EVs, charging stations, appliances, whatever you want to call it. I'm here with Brandon McCain, who is an up-and-coming electrician who wants to be an electrician. You know, what's really interesting, Brandon, is that I speak to many different people in the trades, all different types of people. Kids who are young, who are thinking about getting into the trades, even people in older generation. I've had people reach out to me who are 50 and above who want to be in the trades. And it's interesting to hear people's journey into the trades. But you started in corporate America and now moving into the trades. Tell me a little bit about that journey for you.
Yeah. It's been an interesting journey. So I came from working in retail management. I worked for Trader Joe's for about 15 years. And in that journey, I worked my way up from, the bagger to helping run the store. And over those 15 years, you at a certain point, you've maxed out how much you're ever going to earn in that role. And to a certain extent, you've run into every scenario that you could possibly see, and you have learned as much as you're going to learn in that role. So as I thought about going into my next stage of life, am I going to stay in this career and just keep doing what I'm doing and just do this until I retire, or what do I want to do next? And when I thought about similar fields and careers that I could go into, the trades really popped up as the number one thing, right? It is, it's on your feet, it's working with your hands, which I love doing, and was what I was doing in the grocery industry. You're working with small groups of people to accomplish a goal, which is just like in the trades. And when I thought about, the types of trades that I could go into, plumber, carpenter, electrician seemed like the coolest thing that you can do, right?
Sure.
Electricity is interesting, and it's always changing, and it's it's a skill just like plumbing, but I don't know, it held a little appeal to me. And so when I decided to make a career move, I really applied myself. I went to night school for it, and started at a community college and applied to some unions, and then I applied to some non-union shops. And I'm working with Sun Light and Power in Berkeley, California, and I'm a non-union apprentice electrician. So I've been doing that for about a year and a half now. And it's about a 4 to 5 year process to become a certified electrician, which is my real goal.
Well, you basically are starting all over again, right? So you started, so you're 36, right? Have a family. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the things that, especially when I speak to people in the trades, is that in the beginning stages, you're an apprentice. So you're not making as much, right? There's a difference how far you've come in the corporate world. Mm-hmm. Now it's kind of starting all over again. Be honest, how was that conversation with your wife saying, I want to do this thing. I want to work with my hands. I feel like this is my calling. How do you have that? That must have been a, difficult thing to talk about.
Well, you definitely know that you're taking a step back, and especially in terms of pay, right? So I didn't even start out as an apprentice. I started out as, a shop guy. I was just working around the shop, we need, 2 dozen of these screws, or, I need 100 foot of this wire. And my job was to compile all this stuff together. So that's a big pay cut to be able to step back from what I was making as a manager at a grocery store to then be making about, a quarter as much. If we're talking numbers, right? If I'm making $40 an hour as a grocery store manager, and then all of a sudden you step back and you're making only something like $26, $27 an hour as a shop boy. But you make your way back up. And so you make that conscious decision, you have that conversation with your family, and you say, Well, you know it's going to be a hit, and you know it's going to be tough for the year, but by the time you're coming out of that apprenticeship program, I mean, even now, already a year and a half into my apprenticeship program, I'm making more take-home money than I ever was as a grocery store manager with 15 years of experience. You know, just with a year and a half of experience working out on these sites, on prevailing wage sites, as a first-year apprentice, you're making anywhere, depending on what county you're working in, you're making anywhere from $33 to $50 an hour. And so when you're in the apprenticeship program, you know, year one apprentice makes, you know, X amount of money in this county, or then the next year, as the next year apprentice, you're making more money, on and on and on, until you're a certified electrician, and then you're making the journeyman rate. So yeah, I think we knew that it would be a step backwards, but now here I am a year and a half later, already making more. So,
but you're happier, right? Because if you were stuck in, you could have stayed, right, and worked your way up at Trader Joe's, and, you know, maybe have slowly climbed that ladder. But you weren't happy, right? There was something missing. I guess the question is, like, everybody's got an aha moment. Do you remember an aha moment? Be like, okay, I need to make the leap here. It's time.
Yeah. There was no specific moment. I think that I knew that the amount of money that I was ever going to make was going to be basically the same. Yeah. And over the years, you have this, you go through the season journey of the grocery industry, right? And so you know what to expect from Thanksgiving, or you know what to expect from Christmas, or you know what to expect when the kids come back to school. And it sort of gets old, you know, and you see, you know, and I had done everything in the store that I could possibly do. I had done the scheduling. I had, you know, hired people. I had had difficult conversations leading teams. I had, you know, taken care of everything that I could possibly do. And it had become sort of staid and old. And joining the trades, you have to learn so much. And if you love learning, that's definitely the way to go. And yeah, it's definitely a tough decision to make, but it was cool. I'm so glad I did it. Yeah.
So I'm going to hit you with a statistic. So we need 80,000 electricians every single year up to 2030. And that's just replaced electricians that are leaving the industry. For every 5 that are leaving, only 2 are coming in. Everything is being electrified. You have EVs, charging stations, appliances, whatever you want to call it. How are we going to fix that shortage? The thing is, and I get this a lot on social media, that kids are just not interested in working with their hands. They look at the wages and they say, okay, I can make this as an apprentice, but I can make X working at, you know, I don't know, fast food restaurants. And they say, I don't want this. I don't want to put myself in harm's way. I don't want to be in the elements. And you need a thick skin. There's also a lot of kids who say, you know, as apprentice, you get teased, you get that, like, everyone, and it's funny, you smile because there's a lot of people who say, I quit because they were rousing me on the jobs. I couldn't handle it. Do you think it's really for everybody to be in the trades? Or is it like, it's not for everybody? I mean, even though that you want to work with your hands and you're interested in that, but maybe it's just not right for that right person.
I don't think it is necessarily for everybody, because not everybody's interested in the problem solving that it takes to do that, right? Different people are interested in different things. But I think that culturally, where I'm working in California, yeah, there is that, like, razzing and the fun sort of, it's not hazing or anything like that, but
they give you shit.
Yeah.
They give you shit. But
it's not as bad as I would imagine it being working in some place like New York or something like that. Definitely when I worked in New York, you know, there's just a big cultural difference wherever you're going in California or in the United States. But I don't think it's for everybody, but it is a ton of fun. You work with interesting people. I don't know. There's a lot of challenges that you have to overcome, but yeah, it's just interesting work. Yeah.
Yeah. And each and every person in the trades that I speak to, whether it's a lineman, whether it's an electrician, whether it's a welder, whether it's a carpenter, whether it's a plumber, they seem to all be more or less happy, and they feel that sense of accomplishment because they fixed someone's boiler because it was broken in freezing temperature. The power went out. They went on the bucket truck and they turned on the power. To plumbing, somebody who had an issue with their toilet and fixed it. There's that sense of accomplishment. And a lot of the people in the trades, I like to say brag, but in a good way. I built that bridge. I built that tunnel. There's that sense of you're going to be able to fix things that a lot of people can't. And I envy people in the trades because I want to be able to do that. But, you need a lot of training. But I think there is a misconception about the level of knowledge that you need, the math skills behind it, because what you're studying for these tests, it's not easy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's definitely not easy. Like when you look at sample questions for the California electrical exam, they're not simple, and you do need the education. It is important to have that education and to have the book smarts to be able to do it. Even to pass the union entrance exam, to even get an interview, that's not simple math, So yeah, you need to be smart in order to get in. You can't you're not just hitting nails all day. It is a skilled trade that you need to have knowledge for. And you need to study. I go to school at night and then I go to work during the day. And when I'm on my drive home, I'm listening to podcasts about electricity, and I'm thinking about, the formulas about voltage drop when I think about, the TV needing to get run back to its home run back to the panel. But once it's in your head, that's a skill that you've learned and it can't be taken away from you. But yeah, it's definitely doable. So I think on one hand, yes, it's very hard, but on the other hand, you can't be intimidated by that because, if it's worth doing, it's probably going to be hard. If I can do it, anyone can do it.
People always have the question of union versus non-union. Mm-hmm. And to get into the union, which you had mentioned, it's difficult because there's limited seats. Mm-hmm. Some will say it's who you know. There's some of that in major cities. And then there's some people who said, yeah, I got in and it was relatively simple, but we don't know what or how they sort of got in. But especially the people in the union, I mean, some of these guys who have been in working overtime are making way into the six figures. Mm-hmm. And it's inspiring to see these men and women who are doing that when people are saying, well, you can't make money in the trades. But especially over the next 5 or 10 years, 40% are retiring. So the opportunity right now to make that money, I was speaking to a well-known plumber, Roger Wakefield in Texas. I was on his podcast, and we just happened to be talking about plumbing, and we were saying that the wages will be $100 to $200 an hour that you'll make. I mean, where else are you going to really make that? I mean, even if you went back to Trader Joe's and worked your way up, to get that wage. And then you have the ability to maybe open up your own business one day.
Yeah.
And like you said, that skill set never leaves you. It's lifelong skills.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that whether you land in a union shop or whether you land in a non-union shop, you're going to be making good money. I was lucky enough to land with a really great company that's employee-owned, Sunlight and Power in Berkeley, California. We do commercial solar installations, and I do feel like there's a huge opportunity to just learn a ton of stuff, and we make good money. We work on government or a lot of apartment buildings that are being built or subsidized by the government. So we end up working on prevailing wage sites, which is basically union rates. I think that, whichever way you are able to get into the trades, you can't really go wrong because that wage is going to be good.
It is, as long as you put the time and effort into it, and you keep upscaling and upscaling. But to to make that leap, so the apprenticeship is about 4 years or so, and then you move into journeyman once you pass the exam. How important is it for you to be with mentors, people who've sort of been in the industry 20, 30 years? Have you been able to find people who have been there, done that? Because I always say, like, you can try to reinvent the wheel, but there are people who've already laid the groundwork who have done that. Have you been able to find anybody to sort of attach yourself with?
Yeah, I work with a great crew, and I have a great foreman who's been with the company for 15 years, and he teaches me things every day. And then our superintendents, I learn a ton from every day. But yeah, more than like, if my experience in retail, a lot of it was you try something and then that doesn't work, and then the next time that situation comes up, you try something different, right? But it doesn't work like that with electricity, right? You can't just do something like that, because that can lead to a hazardous or a dangerous condition, right? And so being an apprentice with a journeyman is extremely important, because that's how you learn exactly, the right thing to do and the wrong thing to do. Because if you do it wrong, you're creating some hazard, and you can't have that. But you're also learning like little tricks that you would never ever think of if you're just trying to force something. You say, oh no, just do it like this, and then it's super simple.
Yeah.
And so those little tricks that you just absorb all the time are super important. But one thing that I try to remember is just always be asking questions, and just always be asking for more, because I feel like I've learned a lot more than maybe some of the guys that I work with, because I'm always asking for so much. Like, I want to, especially coming into the trade as a second career, a little bit older, I need to move faster than if I were doing this as an 18-year-old kid. And so I'm just trying to move and learn so much more. So I'm always asking for so much more. And I do think that is a benefit of coming to the trade as a second career, is you've had a little bit of experience in your first career, and maybe how to move a little bit faster and what questions to ask.
I like that you come from a different background, right? Mm-hmm. And you're bringing that into sort of the trades environment, which can help you in certain ways. It can help you because you've been a manager. So you've led people, you've led a team before. Obviously, it's a little bit different because you're starting from scratch, but eventually you probably will get to that place where you're maybe leading a team, but you already had the experience from a more corporate environment.
Yeah.
So I think that's extremely important that you started in this path, but you've changed, but you're bringing over these skill sets that's probably going to help you on the trade side.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely bringing that people focus and that team energy from the retail aspect of it feels very helpful, because you can know how to bring, whether it's just a simple good attitude or when the foreman is away and it's just us apprentices sort of looking at each other, then someone has to step up and be the leader. And having come from a management background, it does make it easier. There are some times when you run into someone who has no people skills in the trades, and knowing how to deal with difficult people, which you get in the retail world, has been really helpful. Just to know how to, whether it's simple de-escalation or asking a question a different way, right? You work with people from all sorts of different racial backgrounds and different ages, and people who are coming from looking at things totally differently than you, and to be able to have conversations with someone who's different than you is super important.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about. But you're able to navigate that a little bit better.
Oh yeah.
Compared to just going into the trade and never having that first career.
Yes.
So like you're sort of like ahead of the game slightly.
Yeah. It's nice to have a different perspective on things, for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. And for you, you said that you work with some journeymen, but what about other apprentices? do you get together with those individuals who are kind of going through the same thing you are?
Yeah. So the way our teams are formulated, right? We have our foreman, who's typically the certified electrician, the journeyman, certified electrician, journeyman, same thing. And then we have our crew lead, and then we have however many installers that we need. And so all those installers and crew leads are the apprentices, right? And so the crew lead is typically, an apprentice who's higher up in the years of his apprenticeship. And then the installers, are year one or year two apprentices. And depending on where the project is at, whether we're doing a crane lift and getting all the material onto the roof or laying out the solar array, how it needs to be laid out according to the specifications, right? Then you have a certain number of other apprentices that you're working with, all under the crew lead, who has more experience and is hopefully running the team efficiently so that we're getting the project done as fast as possible.
Yeah, but it's also good to get around other people who want the same thing as you do.
Yeah.
Right, and then they're going through the same sort of situation that you can relate to each other.
Yeah.
Good, bad.
Yeah. It's just fun to commiserate, or when you're having a tough day, when it's 110 on the roof, or when it's raining and it doesn't get. It's cold on the roof, but it's San Francisco cold, so it's never that cold.
Yeah.
But it's cool to be able to commiserate with your other installers and your other apprentices. And you're all working towards that same goal. You all know that you want to be certified electricians and journeymen. And whether you want to be an electrician in the field, or whether you want to be an electrician who's working as a superintendent or as a project manager, right? Like there's a lot of things, a lot of different routes that you can go, but right now we're all on that same journey together.
How important is the safety aspect? Because, in the trades, some will say that it is dangerous, whether you're welding, you're around electrical, but obviously there's PPE and there's, different ways of how they go about keeping you safe. And the most important thing is getting the men and women in the trades back to their families safe.
Yeah.
How important is the safety aspect kind of going through this apprenticeship?
Yeah. Oh, it's incredibly important. It's the absolute number one thing that we think about every day. Funny, coming from a different trade or from a different experience, right? Like, it's not something that you think about, right? Like, you work in a safe place that isn't full of hazards. But when you're working on an active construction site, right, you have to be ready for everything, and you have to be wearing all the proper equipment, right? You got your hard hat and your high vis vest on, your gloves and your safety glasses, and your big heavy boots. And then we're working on roofs, and so we need to be thinking about do we need fall protection? Do we need fall arrest, fall prevention? I got my OSHA 30-hour card, which, just really hammers home all the safety. But yeah, it's incredibly important because one mistake could totally change your life, if not kill you. Whether it's something as simple as cutting yourself with a razor blade or hitting yourself with a hammer, or, we're using all sorts of different tools and heavy equipment. So, God forbid, anything that would happen would totally change my family. So I need to be, my goal is, like you said, to get home to the family every day. So, safety is number one. I think sometimes people think of OSHA or various safety bodies as sort of like bureaucracies that need to be sort of like pushed aside, but really they're out there keeping us safe. So I appreciate it. And it's something that we talk about. We have daily safety meetings, weekly safety meetings, and then even monthly safety meetings that we all Zoom into every month. So our company takes it extremely seriously. And I think everyone on the job site knows how dangerous it is. So everyone takes it pretty serious.
Yeah, I mean, that's number one, to keep your crew safe at the end of the day. I was speaking to a lineman who goes up in bucket truck, and it's just the aftermath of a storm, and you're touching these power lines, and they were going through sort of the safety precaution of how they do they check their gloves before they get on the pole. Like there's certain ways to make sure that they're safe. But one wrong move, or if your glove has a hole in it, and you touch a line, you're dealing with like 14,000 volts. I mean, that's a bad day if you touch that and you don't have the right safety. But yeah, I mean, that's the most important piece, is having men and women safe on the job site. Are you seeing in your line of work women in the apprenticeship? Because in the world of trades, it's only about 3 or 4% that are really women across the board. Are you seeing any women come through?
We don't have as many women. I think we only have one woman who's actually active on the construction side of things, not in administration. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to get more women involved. I think we just need to make an active and a conscious effort to recruit women to come into the field. And I do think that will take some sort of, structural change from like a cultural aspect of like how clean are the porta potties to,
it's important, even the little stuff like that.
just silly stuff like that. But I don't think there's anything there's no sort of physical restriction that is keeping people out. But I do think that the trades could be more welcoming to women.
It could be, and I speak to a lot of women in the trades, whether it's an iron worker up in Canada, and she's doing great things, Jamie McMillan, in the trades and trying to get people in the trades, but she works hard on the tools. And she was telling me that she, in the years prior, they would say something to her, and she looked the other way because she was the only woman on site. Yeah. I've spoken to mechanics who are women, and they're doing great things in the industry. I've spoken to electricians, women who are doing that work, and welding. But what's really interesting is that where I feel that women and just the whole of blue collar work is social media. Because you have all these influencers that pop up. These women are doing amazing things in all different trades, that it's really shown a side of blue collar that years prior, people thought it was like less than white collar. And I don't think that's true at all. But I think through social media and what they're doing on a daily basis, these people, has really opened people's eyes. Because even the younger generation, like Gen Z, has been coined the tool belt generation by the Wall Street Journal. You hear all these things from the Wall Street Journal that smaller companies, HVAC companies, plumbing companies are being bought by private equity. And you're like, wow, the opportunities there are amazing. But going back to the social media, I think, and I see this all the time, I see people who are electricians, who are plumbers, they are showing a day in the life of themselves plus their business, and it's helped them tremendously in their career. Yeah. It is fun when you go on Instagram or TikTok or whatever to see all that, and you do learn a lot from seeing their work for the day, or you learn little like, hey, that's cool, I'm going to try that, and you do take a lot of. It's fun to be able to create something and make it really neat and make it really craftsman-like, and then take a picture of it and share it on social media. That's a really cool aspect of that. Yes, that's that sense of fulfillment, and you're showing what you can do. I mean, I know a handful of influencers who are really they're big. I mean, brands have come to them to wanting to showcase their products, and it's every single trade. So if you're in the trades today, putting yourself on social media, showing what you're capable of, you don't realize, like I do follow, I'm thinking of one plumber, and he literally just has the camera on the entire time during his installation. He's massive, like massive. And he has a small business, plumbing business. Yeah. But that has helped him tremendously. Yeah, absolutely. Getting your name out there is huge.
Yeah, it is something that I've thought about from time to time. I'm like, I should just put a camera on my helmet, on my, and take off my flashlight and put a GoPro on there.
Yeah, GoPro. No, seriously. I mean, you would do that and just show a day in the life of what you do. People take a tremendous amount of interest in it. And it shows as well, someone who's a little bit older, it's possible. It's possible to make a shift. You were in white collar corporate America and now you're in blue collar and your evolution and your journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a really fun transition, changing careers. I think it seemed really daunting to begin with, but then once you sort of get comfortable in your search, and I landed with a really good company, and I'm really excited for the future.
So what's next for you as far as the union? Are you going to reapply to the union?
Yeah, I think I would call them again and see if I could re-interview with them. But once you start, if I'm a year and a half into my 4 to 5 year apprenticeship, to go back and restart with a union. Also, I'd have to leave my company and join a union shop. But I think it would be an interesting journey. But restarting now that I'm on a year and a half in, at some point you have to decide, okay, well, what makes the most sense if my goal is to become certified and then join the union after I get certified? Maybe that makes more sense at this point. But the union with its higher wages and its retirement benefits, and its health insurance is a great way to go, right? Like the IBEW, nothing better. But for now, I'm happy where I'm at. But I do think that I'll reapply at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just about, getting in front of them, doing what you have to do, that, in the future that maybe it will work out for you and you'll join the union if it works for you. If people want to find out more about Brandon, what's the best way on social or LinkedIn, or what's the best way to find you out there?
Oh yeah, definitely on LinkedIn. And then just reaching out, through LinkedIn, and that's about it. I'm not too active on social media.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Brandon, it's great to have you on the show today. Good luck in your future. I know it will work out for you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you. Thank you.